Hey, true believers, this is Mr. Miracle, and I'm back with another video, and I've got 5 Silver Age comic books that are undervalued for you. The Silver Age comic books are red hot collectibles right now, really big in the market. The Golden Age is so like white hot that it's priced a lot of people out of the market. To put together any kind of a really decent collection of the Golden Age is going to cost you thousands of dollars. So people have been jumping in the Silver Age, and they're going up in price too. So I got 6 of these guys, or 5 of these guys for you from the Silver Age. Let's take a look at number 1. So at number 1, I've got the Fantastic Four, number 62. The first appearance of Blastar. So Blastar is like a warlord in the negative zone. He fights against the Nihilists a lot. He's in no way a good guy. He's a bad guy. They're both warlords trying to fight for control of the negative zone. I think at one point he gets control of Annihilus' cosmic control rod. Yeah, quite a rival to Annihilus. He was linked into the whole Annihilation storyline that happened years and years later. So if Annihilus does show up in the MCU, they could allude back to Blastar, maybe in a flashback of Annihilus showing how he takes over the negative zone or whatever. So do I think like Blastar will be an actual character in the movie? Very, very doubtful. But this book could see a rise for sure. I got this for $10, I believe. Very good condition. Yeah, easy one to find and pick up. All right, next I've got, and I really think this one's super undervalued, Detective Comics number 373. So we all know that this is the second appearance of Mr. Freeze, sorry. This book is from 1968. Mr. Freeze's first appearance is considered to be Batman number 121, which came out 9 years earlier in 1959. So if you look at the prices for Batman number 121, they are skyrocketing. Even in mid-grades, you're going to pay over $1,000 for that book. This book is his second appearance, but it's almost slash his first appearance, because in Batman 121, he had a different costume, different name. He was called Mr. Zero. His motivations were different. We don't see him for 9 years. Suddenly he pops up in this book as Mr. Freeze. And from here on in, for the rest of this character's fictional life, he is called Mr. Freeze as a villain. And it's the Mr. Freeze that we know in Batman comics from here on out. So when you're looking at Batman 121 going for over $1,000 in mid-grade, and this book going for around $19 to $25 in mid-grade, that's a huge price discrepancy in these two books. And it's not that this book isn't, that much newer than the other book, 9 years, and technically Batman 121 is not a Golden Age book. They're both Silver Age books. And the character has a new name, new costume. The whole character kind of revamps. A lot of what writers did, just so that they didn't have to screw around coming up with a big backstory for a new character, they just attached them to a similar older character. And they're, Bob's your uncle. You have a instant backstory for this person, an instant origin, as it were. They didn't have to come up with it. He just sort of retconned into it. And yeah, just the huge amount of discrepancy between those two. Pick this book up. I think a lot of people are going to be like, hey, you know what? This book's important too, because this really revamped the character. And you're going to see a much bigger rise in value for this guy. So Detective Comics 373. The next book on my list, I've got Brave and the Bold presents number 62. So this book is from 1965. It is the first Silver Age appearance of the Huntress, right there. So this is not the Huntress that's going to be in the movie. Different Huntress altogether. She's not even really the Huntress. She's a villain. She gives up the name the Huntress and takes on the name Tigress, or she was originally Tigress, then Huntress, then Tigress. And this is her husband, the Sportsmaster, and we haven't seen him since the Golden Age. This is his first Silver Age appearance, and they fought a lot against this gentleman, who is Wildcat, and this is the first time we see him in the Silver Age. He was a big Golden Age hero, member of the Justice Society of America, also a member of the All-Star Squadron. Yeah, he was a big War Comics hero. I think his first appearance was way back in 1942. These two pestered him quite a bit. They have going to show up in a television show. It's a television show that's going to show up on the DC streaming service called Stargirl. And yeah, I don't quite know what the whole plot line of the show is going to be, but they're casting quite a few different characters for that show. So if it's a hit, this book is definitely going to take a bump from that. If it's not a hit, it's still a great first Silver Age appearance to have in your book. I mean, Wildcat's cool. He got cursed and he has 9 lives, so basically he cannot be killed. And I mean, they kind of changed his power where he has to be killed 9 times right in a row in order to lose all those 9 lives. He kind of resets lives, so he's essentially immortal, and but just no, real powers other than he super awesome fighter and he kicks people's butt. Anyway, I think this book, for the $30 I paid for it, could see a lot more value and a much bigger uptick. And it's a good one and a cool one to have in your collection. Yeah, the next book that I have is The Mighty Thor number 148, first appearance of the Wrecker. This book is from 1968. The Wrecker essentially follows Loki, who's in disguise, dressed like a businessman. Figures he's going to rob him. He's kind of a cat burglar, crook kind of guy, bank robber, cat burglar, whatever kind of crooking you need done. Busts into Loki's hotel room while Loki's just finishing off making a spell. Whacks Loki on the back of the head with the crowbar, knocks him out. For some reason, reaches over and puts on Loki's helmet. So when the spell goes off and it brings, and I can't remember the sorcerer's name that it brings forth, but she is supposed to instill powers much like Thor's onto Loki so that he can finally beat Thor. But seeing the Wrecker from behind with Loki's helmet on, she zaps him by accident instead, by mistake, and takes off to her dimension. And the Wrecker has powers very similar to Thor. He has an enchanted crowbar, enchanted with the same sort of enchantments as Mjolnir is. He's super strong and all kinds of stuff. And of course, with his newfound powers, he decides to become a super criminal. I really like this character. Don't think he'll ever see the light of day in an MCU movie. But I think he's a really cool character and a very underrated character. He does appear quite a bit through the 80s. He's been in lots and lots of recurring books. Gets together his own crew called the Wrecking Crew. And yeah, he's generally a all-around bad guy. And yeah, underrated villain for sure. And I bought this book it's in pretty nice shape for about $15. So, an easy pickup for cheap. And really cool first Silver Age first appearance. All right, so the last book I've got to show you, Strange Tales number 114, the first appearance of Captain America in the Silver Age. This book is older than Avengers 4. So, I'm not saying this is Steve Rogers. This is not Steve Rogers. This is a gentleman called the Acrobat, who is a villain for the Human Torch in Strange Tales. The Acrobat takes on the mantle of Captain America in order to fool the Human Torch. Doesn't fool him, and he recognizes who the Acrobat is, and reveals that he's not the real Captain America. However, there is a cameo appearance of Steve Rogers, Captain America, in the last page of this book. A couple of panels that show Steve Rogers, Captain America. It's kind of a weird first appearance cameo, possibly. It's definitely not as an important book to Captain America as Avengers 4, where Steve Rogers' first full appearance and he's, back into the Avengers and everything. That's a much more important book than this for sure. I just don't think that this book in comparison gets near the love. I mean, here we see our first Captain America cover since the Golden Age. It's a Jack Kirby cover, inked by Steve Ditko. You don't get a lot of really great artwork, or like two great artists, like comic book artists like that, working on a cover. Just look at this cover; it's gorgeous. One of the things I do, this is like a mid-grade book. I searched around quite a bit to find this book for a good price, and I did. I found it for $50. In comparison to Avengers number 4, $50 is super cheap. Nice. One of the things I do when I look for in a mid-grade book, when I do buy mid-grade books, is I would rather you have damage that isn't color damage. I mean, yes, like you can see here it has a crease. That's a pretty sizable crease there, which downgraded this book quite a bit. But the colors are bright. All the character colors are bright. It's not dirty. It's dirty we can clean a little bit, but you don't want to clean dark colors and stuff. You want those colors to pop really nice. I really like how this bright red is still here, how the Human Torch is super bright red. I'd rather have whatever downgrading on the back cover than on the front cover for sure. One 4.5 is not always the same as another 4.5, and a lot of what I look for is that the cover is really super nice and well presentable. And that's one of the things I look for when I buy mid-grade books. So anyway, possibly Steve Rogers' first cameo appearance, first cover appearance of Captain America since the Golden Age. Beautiful Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko cover. Does not get the love or the attention that it totally deserves. There is a great Doctor Strange story in this book as well. Doctor Strange is not on the cover. It's I'm definitely going to bring this book up again in another video, and we'll talk about it a little more in depth then. But if you can get this book for $50 to $100 range, I know there's lots of people that ask way more, but don't overpay for this one. I really think that this book's going to catch on as more and more of these truthers and books like Strange Tales are starting to pop up, and people are reading more about the history of comics and what comics are. And I think this one could see a real rise in value at one point. Good one to put in your collection, especially if you're a Silver Age collector. And so this has been Mr. Miracle. That has been 5 Silver Age books that are undervalued you can put in your collection. And I will see you next video. See you guys.